Hello, Mallards. It's Thursday, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, Mallory, have you finally watched the final episode of Miss Marvel? No, I have not. So we won't be talking about that today. However, this evening, Fitzsimmons and I did watch a lovely Netflix original film called The Royal Treatment. This stars Laura Marano, who was in The Perfect Date and also A Cinderella Christmas Story, and some other Netflix original films. We enjoy her, but it is your classic rom-com, a tale of Prince from made up country meets American girl and they fall in love, but there are complications. However, there are a few differences with this one, things that I enjoyed, okay? So the prince is, the prince of a made-up country. He is visiting New York for reasons indeterminate, and he is sick and tired of living a life where he's not really in control and also where no one tells him anything. So in an act of rebellion, he insists on getting a haircut, and his caretaker, tutor, valet, Walter, accidentally calls the wrong salon and calls the salon that Izzy owns with her mother. And Izzy is an Italian New Yorker who doesn't take nothing for nobody. And she agrees to do the hair for the prince. And then when she gets there, they're rude to the help. And she gets mad that the prince just sat there and did nothing and didn't say a gosh darn thing when Walter and this French lady who also helps the prince were rude to the help. And she's like, nope. And so she's just angrily cutting bits off of his hair. And naturally, he falls in love because he's like, wow, somebody who isn't nice to me just because I'm the prince. Magical. This is very much a trope in this kind of thing, the idea that you're just gonna fall in love if your life is handed to you on a silver spoon and everybody agrees with you all the time and everybody tells you you're wonderful. It turns out that you're just gonna fall in love with the first person who tells you that you're kind of an arse, and that's what happens. But we do like Izzy. She is no nonsense and stands up for herself and stands up for the little people and really is caring and wants to help out the community. And when she eventually agrees to, complications. Forgot to mention that the prince, Thomas, is engaged to be married to a lovely Texan girl named Lauren. And they hire Izzy and her salon to do the hair and makeup for the royal wedding. So then she's flown out to, I think it's Lavinia, this made-up country, where she's gonna do the hair and makeup. But while she's there, she learns more about the country than the prince knows, of course, because she is a down-to-earth person who just walks around and meets people and cares about the community. And so she teaches the prince to look beyond himself and his palace and actually pay attention to his citizens and actually work towards making the world a better place. Meanwhile, he falls in love with her and realizes that she's the one that he wants to be with. It culminates, of course, in the mother of the bride taking some sneaky paparazzi photos and his parents getting really mad and insisting that Izzy be fired and she can no longer do the hair and makeup for the wedding. But then Prince Thomas is like, it doesn't matter what you say. I'm not getting married. And he goes to Lauren and he's like, see, here's the thing. And she's like, thank God, I don't want to get married. And that's all wonderful. And then he chases after Izzy and he meets her in New York where she is starting her own gosh darn life. She's decided to no longer work in the beauty salon and she is instead taking over the local community center because she cares about people and children and the underdog. And then the prince shows up on a horse and he's like, wow, remember that one time that you told me that your dad, who is now dead, showed up on a horse outside of your house and what a magical evening you had? I thought I'd do the same thing. And it's not weird at all that I'm doing the same thing your father did. It's romantic. Marry me. And then we assume that they do. And we also assume that Lauren lives happily on her own life, running her own business, making dog purses because it's what she always wanted to do. And we also assume that the country's financial troubles, which were caused by Thomas's parents and were the reason they wanted him to marry this very, very oil-rich Texan girl, just disappeared, I guess. I don't know. It's a rom-com. We don't look too hard into it. But there are a few takeaways from this film. Number one, I feel like the direction everyone was given was, we are giving you a nationality or an accent. Like, you are French. You are an Italian New Yorker. You are from Brooklyn. You are, etc., etc., etc. And they were like, and we need everyone to know it. Like, the people in the back, like the way, way back, need to never mistake the idea that you are an Italian New Yorker. And all of the actors were like, bet, we are going to go so hard into these accents that it's going to be overwhelming. And so that's the way that it is. In fact, Izzy references her Italian heritage a lot. She also speaks Italian with her grandmother, which is cute. But man, do they lay that on thick, like real thick. It has a lot of the rom-com stereotypes that you'd expect, you know, aside from the whole arranged marriage of it all. It has the like moment where she's looking up at the stars and he's looking at her because she's so pretty. And it has this moment where she takes him out of his comfort zone and takes him to the wrong side of the tracks in his own city. And he's like, what? I was always told that this place was dangerous. And look, it's full of beautiful, vibrant people and these poor orphans in a school that we need to help. And, you know, all the other lovely things that you expect. Also, a strangely strict French, I don't even know what her title would be, but she also works for the prince. And once again, she went hard so that the people in the back would know that she is French. And she's just putting the other two girls who work with Izzy at the beauty salon, who also like came to do the royal wedding, like through the ringer the whole time. And we assume that this is because we needed Izzy and Thomas to be alone in order to develop a romance, right? So she can't have her friends there all the time. But also, for some reason, we couldn't have her be the only one who comes to the foreign country, because somebody did realize that one person doing all the hair and makeup for a wedding was ridiculous. But 3 people would be reasonable. So they brought them along and then were like, oh no, what do we do in the rest of the movie? I know, we just make them suffer mostly off screen with like a little bit of on-screen suffering so that they're around when Izzy needs to like bask in the glory of what she's doing, or like she needs a shoulder to cry on. But then the rest of the time you don't see them, so we can focus on the romance. And then Izzy proceeds to, you know, get to know absolutely everybody in Thomas's life that's like not his rich parents better than he does. All the gardeners, all the guards, all the help, all of the everybody, because she is down to earth and kind and she cares about the help and she believes that people are people. And it was fun to watch this from like sort of the perspective of a girl who cares and is no nonsense. Like, I liked that she cared, but she also was willing to fight for things and also did a lot of walking away, which I enjoyed and doesn't happen necessarily very often. And watching the prince squirm was also cute. But by far, the biggest highlight of this film is that Thomas's manservant, Walter, says that he has been there since Thomas was 3. And Walter starts off by making the wrong phone call and then being kind of upset and sort of looking down on Izzy for the way that she acts. But then he is the one who like gets her the job as the royal wedding hairdresser and makeup artist after he sort of like sees her and Thomas together. And then like when she's there visiting, he's like, subtly like pushing them in the right direction. And then he and Thomas essentially have a heart-to-heart where he's like, listen, when you were 3, I got called to like serve my country by being your tutor, and I agreed. And I left behind Richard, the man that I loved. And this has got to be at least 15 years ago, but I'm guessing more like 17 years ago. And I left behind this man that I loved because I needed to do my duty for my country. And I've regretted it ever since. So you shouldn't get married. You are in love with Izzy, not Lauren, and you should go chase her. And we were like, whoa, you go, Walter. Way to make a 180 during this film. But also, I have made the firm decision that I am now only care about Walter and Richard. And there's like some credits, animated credits that show Walter and Richard maybe getting back together, which is cute, but also that's like 15 to 17 or maybe even 20 years of like being apart and a lot of drama. So I've decided that I'm going to exclusively now be on the Walter / Richard from the Royal Treatment fan fiction train. You know, all of my Our Flag Means Death stuff, that can wait. I need to find out if somebody has written this 20-year long, 15 to 20 year long, pining, angsty, eventual happy ending love story. Or did Richard like have this whole life, you know, and then at the end of it, because something's gone wrong and he finally gets divorced and there's Walter showing back up after all this time and wow, they can have true love again. Or did he just spend 15 years being sad? And then Walter had to work to win him back when he finally got the chance. Or have they secretly been writing letters this whole time and they were kind of like still going strong, you know, but like long distance, super long distance, and then they can finally be together again? I don't know, but I want to find out. So all of you out there who are already huge fans of the Royal Treatment and know all about, you know, the super niche fanfic market, I'm going to get on AO3 when I'm done here and see if there is any. But if you're looking for a fun way to spend 90 minutes, this movie is enjoyable. It's over the top. It is exactly what you expect from like a really cheesy rom-com. It's also very predictable, but it's super fun. And I am now going to go to bed, and I'll see you tomorrow.